The email hit my inbox at 6:42 p.m., just as I was shutting down my laptop. Urgent. Executive decision. Effective immediately. I stared at it, the fluorescent light above my desk flickering like a bad omen. My chest tightened, that strange premonition that something irreversible was about to happen. Click. The first line made my vision blur. Effective immediately. Your employment with Luminar Systems has been terminated. Years. 8 years of building what became the backbone of the company. Our AI data architecture, our predictive algorithms, the entire infrastructure. 8 years of 16-hour days, of missed birthdays, skipped dinners, and nights spent coding until dawn while my wife, Lena, slept alone in our bed. And it ended with an email. The reason, buried in the second paragraph, almost made me laugh out loud. Breach of company protocol. Failure to attend mandatory investor presentation on October 4th. I hadn't attended because Lena had begged me to stay home. She'd looked pale that morning, her voice trembling. "I just need you today, Alex," she'd whispered, tears clinging to her lashes. "Please. For once, don't pick them over me." So I stayed. I told my assistant to handle the presentation. I made breakfast. I held her as she cried. And now, that single act of love cost me my career. The hum of the office suddenly sounded distant. Everyone had gone home, except for the janitor vacuuming near the elevators. The irony settled deep in my gut. I'd built a billion-dollar system for people who thought of me as replaceable code. I opened Slack to message Michael, my co-founder, my best friend since college, but his profile icon was gray. I checked LinkedIn out of instinct. He'd already updated his headline. CEO and founder, Luminar Systems. No co-founder. My throat went dry. I clicked on the company page and saw the new press release. Luminar Systems announces successful Series E funding round, led by Apex Ventures. CEO Michael Torres expresses gratitude for the team's continued innovation and leadership. My name wasn't mentioned once. The drive home was a blur of red tail lights and static radio. Rain slicked the streets like glass, and each stoplight reflected off the windshield like mocking eyes. By the time I reached the house, my hands were trembling on the steering wheel. Lena opened the door before I even reached for the knob. Her mascara was smudged, her hair tied back loosely. She smiled too quickly. "Hey," she said, her tone soft but tight. "You're home early." I forced a smile, though my voice cracked. "Yeah. Turns out, I don't have a job anymore." Her eyes widened, and she covered her mouth. "Oh my God, Alex. What happened?" I watched her carefully. The concern was there, but so was something else. Not shock. Something quieter. A flicker of recognition. "They fired me," I said flatly. "Said I skipped the investor presentation." She reached out, touching my arm. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for that to." Froze. "Didn't mean for that to happen." Her hand dropped. She looked away. I didn't think it would cost you your job, Alex. I needed you that day. I didn't know it was that important." Her words were soft, but something inside me twisted. She did know. That meeting had been the single most important one of the year. The culmination of our entire funding cycle. I exhaled slowly, steadying my tone. "It's fine. I'm just tired. I need a minute." She nodded and stepped aside, biting her lip. The house smelled faintly of lavender and something metallic, like the ghost of a perfume I didn't recognize. Lena's things were scattered across the living room. Her laptop, her sweater on the armrest, a half-empty glass of wine. I went upstairs to our shared office, looking for some closure. My resignation, my documents, something I could hold on to. But when I opened her laptop to look for a file, an email notification popped up. From Michael Torres, subject, last night. My breath caught. I didn't mean to click it. My finger just moved, driven by the same morbid curiosity that makes you look at a wound before you bandage it. "I can't stop thinking about you. I know what we're doing is dangerous, but every time I see you, I forget everything else. He'll find out eventually. Maybe it's time we stop pretending this is temporary." I stared at the screen, the words swimming. Every line drove another nail into my chest. Michael, my best friend, my co-founder, the man who had just erased my name from everything I built. And Lena, my wife, was the reason I missed the meeting that let him do it. I don't remember how long I sat there. My vision pulsed with anger and disbelief. The betrayal was too precise, too orchestrated to be coincidence. I replayed the last few weeks in my head. Michael's evasive texts, Lena's sudden interest in business dinners, the subtle, strange way she asked about investor meetings, details she'd never cared about before. All the red flags I'd brushed off because I trusted them both more than I trusted myself. When Lena appeared in the doorway, her face pale, I could tell she knew I'd seen it. "Alex, don't." Her lips trembled. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You mean getting me fired? Or sleeping with my best friend?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I didn't plan either of those. You were never here. You were building your empire and I was just invisible." Michael saw me. He listened. I stepped closer, my voice shaking. He listened because he wanted what was mine. The company. The system. You were just another asset he leveraged. Her shoulders collapsed, but she didn't deny it. That silence broke something inside me that words never could. "I loved you," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Everything I built was supposed to give us a future." She wiped her tears. "Maybe you built too much for the world, and not enough for the people in it." That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the garage, the glow of my old computer lighting the dark. My code, my real code, was still running. Luminar might have taken my title, but they hadn't taken my mind. I spent hours scrolling through system logs, security access, server directories. And then I saw it, a hidden subnet. A shadow copy of my architecture that had been transferred off the mainframe 3 weeks ago. The timestamp matched the week Lena started visiting her sister in San Francisco. I cross-checked the IP address. It wasn't Apex Ventures. It was Michael's private server. He hadn't just stolen my position. He'd stolen the system itself. And Lena had helped him do it. At 3 a.m., the garage light flickered. My reflection in the car window looked alien. Hollow eyes, clenched jaw, the quiet stillness of someone standing on the edge of something irreversible. Revenge wasn't my style. But justice. Justice felt different. If they wanted my system, they could have it. But I wasn't about to let them weaponize my work. I accessed the master framework and queued a silent override. It wouldn't destroy Luminar. It would simply redirect the architecture, rerouting all proprietary data back to the original source. Me. Then I typed a message to Michael. "You built nothing without me. And now you'll own nothing without me." I hovered over the send button but then stopped. Because at that moment, I heard Lena's soft footsteps behind me. "Alex, what are you doing?" I turned, the cursor still blinking on the screen. "Cleaning up my mistakes," I said quietly. She looked at me, eyes red, voice trembling. "Please don't do this. You'll ruin everything." I tilted my head. "Funny. That's exactly what you and Michael did." Lena's voice trembled as she stepped closer. "Alex, I know I hurt you. But if you do this, you'll destroy everything you worked for." I stared at her, the glow from the monitor painting her face in cold, digital blue. "You already did that," I said softly. "You and Michael both." She shook her head, desperate. "You don't understand what he's capable of. If you cross him, he'll ruin you. Legally, financially, publicly. He'll bury you under NDAs and lawsuits before you even hit send." Her words landed heavy, but not because I feared Michael. Because part of me knew she was right. Michael wasn't just clever. He was ruthless. And he had money, lawyers, and the board on his side. If I went to war with him, I'd lose everything that was left. I turned back to the screen. The override code blinked, waiting for a final command. My hand hovered over the keyboard. For 8 years that code was my life. It was everything I'd built from scratch. Every sleepless night, every sacrifice. Even Lena's love had faded somewhere along the way, but the system had remained my constant companion, the one thing I believed couldn't betray me. Until tonight. Until I realized people were the ones behind the code. And people lie. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time I saw not my wife but a stranger wearing her face. Someone I'd loved so blindly that I'd missed the slow, deliberate decay beneath her smiles. Why him? I asked finally, my voice breaking. Out of everyone, why Michael? Her expression softened, guilt flickering through her eyes. Because he reminded me of you. The way you used to be before all this consumed you. Before the system became more important than us. Flinched. So what? Sleeping with him was your way of missing me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. It wasn't supposed to go that far. He listened. He said things you stopped saying. He told me you were shutting me out, that you'd already moved on emotionally. I was stupid enough to believe him. And you believed him enough to help him steal from me? Her breath hitched. He said you were planning to leave the company, to cash out and disappear. I thought. She stopped herself, pressing her lips together. You thought I'd leave you. She nodded slowly. The silence that followed felt like drowning in slow motion. I wanted to scream, to shatter something, to make her feel the weight she'd just placed on my chest. But all I could do was sit there, because even in that moment, a part of me still loved her. And that terrified me more than anything else. The next morning, the world looked washed out. I hadn't slept. Lena had fallen asleep crying on the couch. I stood by the window, watching the sunrise bleed orange across the skyline, wondering when everything had started to rot. When I opened my laptop again, the cursor was still blinking. The override was still ready. But something in me had shifted overnight. I didn't want revenge anymore. Revenge meant staying tied to them. Forever orbiting the same betrayal, the same pain. What I wanted now was freedom. So I didn't send the code. I encrypted it. Buried it inside a secure personal server, locked under a key only I knew. And then I wrote a message. To Apex Ventures, the lead investors. To whom it may concern. I am the original architect and patent holder of the data framework Luminar Systems currently operates. This is to formally notify you that the underlying intellectual property is protected and registered under my personal entity. Any unauthorized replication or modification constitutes infringement. Documentation attached. I attached timestamps, logs, and early prototypes. Evidence that could prove beyond doubt that I was the creator. I didn't need to destroy Michael. I just needed to make sure he couldn't use my work to build his empire. Lena was gone by the time I went upstairs. Her clothes, her laptop, even the photo of us from our wedding day, all gone. Only a note remained on the kitchen counter. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to end like this. Please don't come looking for me. Maybe someday you'll understand. I didn't cry. Not this time. I just folded the note, tucked it in a drawer, and let the silence swallow the house. 2 months passed. Luminar Systems made headlines, again. This time for all the wrong reasons. Tech giant faces patent dispute and system lockout amid allegations of code theft. Michael appeared on camera once. All smooth confidence and empty assurances. But I could see it, the subtle tremor in his jaw, the way he blinked too often. He knew exactly what was happening. The system had frozen on him. The investors were panicking. The value had plummeted overnight. And somewhere, buried deep within the code, a silent signature blinked like a heartbeat. Property of A. Hale. No one traced it back to me publicly. I didn't need credit. I didn't want glory. Just peace. I moved out of the city, renting a quiet cabin near the coast. The air smelled of salt and pine, and for the first time in years my head felt clear. I spent my days writing, not code but thoughts. Fragments of what happened. Pieces of who I was before ambition devoured everything else. At night, I'd sit by the window, listening to the waves crash against the rocks, and wonder if Lena ever thought of me. If she'd realized what she'd lost. But most nights, I didn't wonder long. Because the truth no longer hurt. It just existed like an old scar that no longer aches when touched. One evening, as the sky burned pink and gold, I got an email. From unknown sender. Subject: you were right. I hesitated, then opened it. Michael's gone. Luminous collapsing. I should have listened to you. I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve any of it. Hope you found peace. L. I read it twice, then closed the laptop without replying. Forgiveness wasn't something I could give, not because I hated her, but because I'd outgrown the need to. She and Michael had been chapters. Painful, instructive, necessary. But not the story. 3 years later, my system, rebuilt from scratch, launched under a new name, Solanova. This time, it wasn't built for billion-dollar investors or hollow promises. It was built for purpose. For people who believed in innovation without betrayal. Investors came calling, but I turned most of them down. Kept it small, human, real. Sometimes I'd see my reflection in the office window, older, calmer, still carrying faint traces of that man who once lost everything for love and loyalty. But now those scars felt like proof of survival. And occasionally when I thought of Lena, it wasn't anger I felt, it was gratitude. Because if she hadn't broken me, I'd still be building for the wrong reasons. Prologue. A year after Solanova's launch, I received a small package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a flash drive and a note. For what it's worth, I saved your first code draft. I couldn't destroy it. L. The drive contained the original version of my architecture. Messy, incomplete, filled with errors. But as I opened the file, a small annotation blinked at the bottom. // Alex plus Lena. Version 1.0. For us. For the first time in a long while I smiled. Not the bitter, hollow kind that hides pain, but a quiet, genuine one. Because sometimes closure doesn't come from justice or revenge. It comes from finally being able to look at the past without wanting to rewrite it. I closed the laptop, stepped outside, and watched the sea swallow the horizon. The world kept moving just like code, rewritten, repurposed, resilient. And so was I.